Pretty loud, no?
Yeah.
Sounds pretty good though. Pretty clear.
Okay, we'll stop. All right, man. So we're ready to go. So just make sure you're talking directly into the mics.
Make sure my phone is on vibrate.
Phone's on vibrate.
Phone's on vibrate.
When
Vibrate phones.
Let the wives and the girlfriends and whoever else know
wife
you're out for an
on
hour.
a podcast, if I don't pick up, she might think
Don't panic.
I'm not avoiding her or something.
You don't have any like major deals closing between 2 and 3, right?
No, we should be all right.
All right.
We actually had to go see a property, but thankfully the guy rescheduled.
Yeah, welcome to real estate.
He said you're gonna do it later this week, which is great because it was supposed to be at 3.
Oh, you're
We
not.
wouldn't have made it.
Yeah.
Unless you got some sort of city police escort.
All right, here we go.
Just pop on your headphones and I think we're ready to go, man. So.
All right, we're live.
All right, so we're live, guys. So, Newbie Real Estate Investor Podcast, episode number 19. Woo!
Hey guys, welcome to the Newbie Real Estate Investors Podcast. This is episode 19, and we got Joe Falla, our co-host over here, and then we have 2 special guests. We have Edwin Diaz from Helios, and also his business partner, Ralphie, also from Helios. What's up, guys?
What's going on?
What's up,
for
guys?
joining us,
How you
guys.
guys doing?
Great, man. Love the energy.
Good to see you guys.
Thanks for the invite, brothers.
Oh, of course, man.
Appreciate it.
Let me send you the link while we...
Yeah, absolutely. Let me share this link with my my friends, my network, so that they can comment and blast us on YouTube.
Like, share, subscribe. Like, share, subscribe.
That's right. Give us some love. Give us some love. Give us some, click on that heart, right?
Yep.
Or actually, YouTube is like I think is it a heart or
Is it a heart, I
thumbs
think?
up?
It's a thumbs up. It's a thumbs up.
There you go.
Let me do this. How come you're not coming up? I don't know why. Oh, here we go.
Where you hitting me?
Oh.
On Facebook? Eddie
Yeah.
M's.
Yeah.
This was supposed to be done.
Putting
on
your
the-
full name,
on the
that's
cold
why.
open.
Yeah. Yeah. People can't find me on Facebook because I don't use my name on Facebook.
Right.
I knew mortgages for me when Joe Does Mortgages wasn't taken. So this was meant to be. This is a marriage made in heaven.
Nice. So, guys, once you finish your, you know what? I'll let Rafi start off since you're a little busy right now. So, Rafi, why don't you give the audience a little bit of a quick, maybe a minute or 2 background about yourself, how you got started, well, before you got into real estate. Okay, what background? Where you?
Sure. So I was born and raised in New York City,
What part?
Uptown Manhattan.
Okay.
It's a New Yorker right there.
Yeah,
New Yorker as well. Cool.
absolutely.
Nice. For some reason, with seeing my dad grow up, he was always into customer service. So I got intrigued in that. Started working into hotels. Started taking my customer service through the hotels, and then a good coworker of mine, an older gentleman, kept telling me, "Hey, you need to invest in real estate. This check here at the hotel can only get you so far. Start buying some real estate to continue going forward, right?" And then around 2010, I bought my first multifamily, and that was basically it. Little by little, just kept buying from there, and this is where we are right now.
Awesome.
Nice. And Ed.
Yeah, I mean, Raphael and I call him Ralphie, by the way. It's kind of weird to call him Raphael. We shorten it a little bit, So Ralphie and I, we grew up in the same neighborhood. We came up in New York City. Grew up in New York City, Uptown Manhattan, in Washington Heights, in the 80s. So it was a really,
You've seen
it
it
was
all.
it was a rough neighborhood. You could tell from my demeanor. I'm not. I've been around the block once or twice. So New York City was tough. And we we had to adapt, right? And then I guess after that, I went to the Marines around 18.
Thank you for your service.
Thank you,
Yeah.
you. Appreciate that. So shout out to any veterans. We love veterans. You know, I'm a Marine. I got out of the Marines in 2003, but being a Marine never really leaves your mindset. So, you know, after the Marines, I went to college, which kind of like gave me the ability to get out of the neighborhood. So the Marines was like the first sort of very life-changing sort of introduction of a new life for me, because I got out of the neighborhood. I got to see the world. I got to see what other cultures were like. I got to see what other people that lived in other states and other countries were like. And, you know, growing up in New York City, you didn't really see that. After the Marines, I went to college, and then I started working on Wall Street. Worked on Wall Street for a while, about 17 years, and loved it. I always wanted to be a Wall Street stockbroker. I mean, ever since I was a kid, Wall Street was everything to me. It was what I wanted to be.
Did the Charlie Sheen movie inspire you?
Oh man, I love
based
that
out of
movie.
New York.
I love that movie. Yeah, absolutely, 100%. Boiler Room, Wall Street, you name it. Any Wolf of Wall Street, all those movies, right? So I loved Wall Street, you know, and I still love Wall Street today, to be honest with you. I actually miss some of the action that I was, you know, a part of when I was back then. But at some point I started getting burned out, mentally exhausted, because it was a lot of work. It was working like 80 hours a week, and I had a great life. I was living a very good life, made a lot of money. Well, at the time, right, a lot of money for being a young kid, for sure. And even to this day, that's probably a lot of money, you know, because I was making well over 6 figures. And I don't know, I at some point it just dawned on me, like, wait a minute, am I gonna be doing this until I'm like 60 and just working 80 hours a week until I'm 60?
Yeah.
There's gotta be something different.
What's the exit strategy, right? That's
I didn't even know what the exit strategy was. You know, like I didn't think about it. I thought, you know, the exit strategy was Wall Street. You know, the exit strategy was work in the stock exchange or in investment banking, make a shitload of money, and you know what, make so much money that I'm gonna retire. But by the time I retire, I probably would, you know, would have been so exhausted. I didn't, you know, it's
You didn't have a chance to enjoy it anymore.
it burns you. It burns
Right.
you. So,
Plus New York City inflation.
oh, forget about it. You know. So I think Raphael, he bought his first house in 2010. I think it was, right?
2010.
So that's what's kind of, well, so I had previously bought real estate, right?
Yeah.
You know, I bought my first house when I was like 24 years old, you know,
Congratulations.
and I didn't know anything about it. It wasn't like I was a real estate, you know, master or anything like that.
Just someone put the idea in your head, say, hey, you're making all this money, you gotta buy a house.
Of course, you
Yeah.
know, and I had a stock portfolio, you know, and I needed to buy a house. You know, everybody on Wall Street owned a house. Everybody owned their own real estate. So the young kid, 24 years old, I wanted to do what everybody else was doing in my, you know, my college.
You were following the crowd.
100%,
Right.
you know.
Now, was that house for just personally living in, or was that an investment? Okay,
Yes,
cool.
it was. I bought a house in Staten Island at the time.
Okay.
Still a New Yorker, right? We're in New Jersey now, but you know, I at that time I was 100% a New Yorker. I didn't want to
Ferry
move to
ride
New
over
Jersey.
to work, right?
That's it. And actually, I took an express bus. They had an
did you?
express bus, yeah. So you go over the Verrazano
Verrazano.
Bridge. So I bought my first house at 24, sold
Nice.
it like 2 years later, and I made $75,000. And I didn't know how the hell I made $75,000 so quickly, but I was like, shit. The realtor told me, you know, hey, you know that you could sell this house, you can make this much money. I said, really? Let's sell it.
Right.
So I sold it, and I used that money, and I put it into the stock market, you know, and I did pretty good with it. So
How much do you think that property's worth today?
That was a long time ago. That was well over 16, 17 years ago. So
Close to being paid off.
it was probably before 2008. I mean, that property's probably worth in the 500-600s now, and I probably bought it for like 200 maybe.
Oh,
Think
buy
it
and
was.
hold. I bring that up. Buy and hold, right? Buy and hold.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. And actually, speaking about buy and hold, you know, when Rafi, that was Rafi. So Rafi was very instrumental into. He bought that property. I was in Wall Street, so my mind was on stocks. because that's where all my money came from, right? I made all my money in stock. So, you know,
The house was just something someone told you to do.
it was never a strategy. It was
Right.
never like something like,
Somewhere
oh, we're
to
gonna
live.
make millions on real estate. No, nobody ever thought
It
about
was
that.
just a living, right?
To live in, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Rafi was like, you know, I want to buy a house in New Jersey, and he bought a 2-family in Elizabeth,
Oh,
a
sounds
foreclosure,
Nice.
you know, in an area in the port, which
cool. Oh my Jesus!
at that time in 2010.
I live in Elizabeth.
Oh, you live in Elizabeth?
Yeah, yeah. I'm not sure what's the last time you drove by there, but that's a. I
Oh,
bring that
it's
up all
not.
the time.
It's nothing like.
Things have changed. Things have changed.
No, it's
But go
not.
ahead, continue.
2010 Elizabeth.
Yeah,
was way
I've heard
different
the
than-
stories. I've heard.
When we went there and he showed me the house, you know, it wasn't about the house. It was about the neighborhood. Everything around it was boarded up. It was like
imagine.
it looked like New York City in the 80s.
Right. It looked like East New York.
Oh, it was horrible. And I said to him, "Are you sure? Are you sure?"
Everybody was saying the same thing.
Like, what
And
the
this is
hell?
2010.
What the hell do you
2010.
see in Elizabeth? You know, like what's Elizabeth? And I just didn't see it. I just didn't see it. And he saw it, and I didn't. And I saw stocks. That was the way. And he saw real estate. And then he, you know, believed in it so much that he bought the second house.
In Elizabeth.
Was
In
it?
Elizabeth,
Yeah, it was
yeah.
Elizabeth.
Okay.
Another 2-family.
I started collecting the rent. That's what.
No, that's right.
That's what ended up happening. I was like, hold up, I'm collecting the rent here. I'm living here for free. No, I gotta tell everybody about this now. And then I was
Meanwhile,
telling my man over
I'm
here.
paying like a $2,500 mortgage, you know, and I'm like, wait a minute, you're living for free? What's going on over here?
Oh, so you were house
were a
hacking.
single-
I was
You were
house hacking before even the term
The
even
term
came out.
became popular,
Right, right.
yeah.
Sure.
In 2010, nobody knew what house hacking
Oh,
was. That wasn't you know, they popularized these terms.
Right.
Yeah, bigger pockets. They made it popular.
For sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And actually, around that time, I think we probably learned about bigger pockets around that time, right? But then he bought a second one. And when he bought the second one, that was when it was like, wait a minute.
Bing.
What's going on over here?
The light bulb just clicked.
You got two families and you're collecting rent now? How does that work? You know, so I don't know. I guess when you see an idea and you don't grasp that idea because you don't see it in action, and then when you see that idea in action and it works, I think things change. And that's what happened with us. Because Ralphie didn't know what he was doing. I didn't know what he was doing. It wasn't like somebody all of a sudden just gave us knowledge that we understood real estate. He was just somebody that, you know what? I think this works, and I'm gonna buy a 2-family house, and this one I'm living free in it, and it's working. I'm gonna buy another one. And it wasn't like he was making millions, but it was something that he wanted to do slowly. So he was always. One thing about Rafi is actually, and I don't give him credit enough for this, but I'm sure people that know him do. When he believes in something, he pushes it a lot. And if he likes, like, for example,
He projects it.
if he likes pizza, he's going to tell you, let's go get pizza. Like, I like pizza. Like, you should eat that pizza. You know, it's a great pizza. So it was nonstop. It was nonstop. This was like constantly. You gotta buy a house. You gotta buy real estate.
I was bragging about it.
Yeah, he was like constantly, and it got to a point that I was getting sick of it. You know?
No, because you were shoving stocks down his throat.
Oh yeah, I was shoving stocks of short down his throat.
Apple.
Oh, I was shoving down all day. That was definitely me. And he was like, no, real estate. I'm like, in Elizabeth with boarded out homes? Hell no way. If I buy anything, it's gonna be in New York City. You know, New York City.
Where you
right?
felt comfortable.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So
I remember going to Elizabeth around that time because, you know, as a contractor, you go all over the place. And I remember that was a rough area. Jeez.
Look, some parts of Elizabeth, even today, I don't want to say they're rough, but they're questionable. You don't want to be there at 2 a.m, you know? But it's nowhere near what it was now. Today it's different.
But how
I can
rough
attest to
was
it.
it really?
It
We're
wasn't
coming from
really
New
that-
York.
Well,
We're coming from New
right,
York.
that's what I tell people when people's like, "Oh, Elizabeth, woohoo!" Well, let me take you to Far Rockaway, where I'm from,
Yeah, yeah.
and compare it to Elizabeth.
Come on, it's a walk in the park.
and I want that's actually a very important topic, right? Because it wasn't that it was rough because we were scared. We were scared to make an investment and that investment not working, because it wasn't the area that we were scared of, because we grew up in a way rougher area. Like at 10 years old, growing up in Washington Heights in the 80s, which was like the height of the crack epidemic, coming out of my building, I've seen guys getting shot in front of me. Like I remember it vividly at 11 years old, there was a shootout in front of my block and 5 guys got killed right in front of me,
Wow.
And so it's not the rough areas that scare us. I don't think we're scared of the rough areas, but we just didn't understand if you can make money in those areas. And you can, apparently.
And it's a dilapidated house. You're like, this is gonna make me money.
Exactly. And we didn't look again. It's fun. It's interesting. All of this.
Were they all foreclosures? Were they both those first two? They were foreclosures.
The first 2, yes. Yep.
Which is another important thing, because
You
again,
bought them in the auction at the
No
in the
auction.
city hall.
no
okay.
auction. This came through realtors, right?
Realtor, yep.
Realtors.
Okay.
So at that time, REO agents. We build relationships. But it's interestingly because he bought his first 2 at auction, and then I bought like my first 7 at auction. No, not auction, foreclosure. And I bought my next 7 all REOs. So
In any particular area?
at this point, it's so many houses, I don't even remember like where they all. I bought some in Elizabeth for sure. That was an REO. East Orange REO. Roselle REO. More in Roselle REO. I bought a few in Roselle. I bought a few in Elizabeth. So they were all like REO.
I've heard stories about Roselle. I'm like, Roselle? This is the suburbs. I heard Roselle wasn't like a walk in the park.
There's Roselle and Roselle Park.
Oh, I know there's a difference. Oh, so
Yeah.
there was. Oh, okay,
Roselle Park
gotcha.
is a little better than Roselle.
Oh,
A
because
tinge-
Roselle's
a tinge
closer
more,
to
yeah.
Linden. Roselle's closer to Linden.
Yeah.
Right.
Roselle's closer
Yeah.
to Linden. Yes.
Exactly.
Yes. Roselle Park is closer to Union.
Right.
Right.
So
Oh, I didn't know that. It all looks beautiful to me now.
yeah,
Again,
it's-
I'm looking from
it's
New
so
Yorker
much nicer.
eyes.
Yeah,
it's
sure.
beautiful.
So much nicer now.
there's a section of Roselle that has these huge, immense mansions.
Yeah.
Like immense. And some of them need a lot of work. I actually bought my first small multifamily in Roselle, a 4-family. I bought it REO from an REO. By the way, speaking of which, we're going to be discussing a lot of terms and concepts in this podcast that whoever's listening in, I want you guys to understand that some of these things weren't like, they weren't like
Common
common
terms.
sense to us, right?
Yeah.
We just happened to stumble upon them and happen to learn from them, right? So like the term REO agent, I didn't know what an REO agent was. Just happens to be that I met a guy who was a realtor and was an REO agent, and we ended up striking a great relationship, and from there on I bought my next 7 homes that were all REOs.
Yeah.
So first thing
Is that what that real estate agent specialized in?
that's
REOs?
it, yeah. There's an actual specific type of agent called an REO agent, and they are. If I hope I don't butcher this, but for those of you guys out there who are realtors or REO agents, you understand what I'm talking about. An REO is a real estate owned. That's the actual what it means. REO, real estate owned, and what that means is that once a property is foreclosed and the bank takes ownership of it, the bank owns it. The bank owns the real estate, so that's why it's called REO, right? Now, in the bank, remember, banks aren't realtors, and they definitely aren't in the business of selling or fixing real estate. They're in the business of giving you mortgages, right, and financing. So banks have somebody in their departments called an asset manager, and the asset manager is the person that's in charge of all the foreclosure portfolio. So they work with a REO agent who then manages the sales of the listings of those foreclosures once they package it, because a bank is very slow. So a bank, they foreclose on your property, and it's not like tomorrow they're gonna list it, right? It takes time,
yeah.
because they have like, depending on how big the bank is, if it's JP Morgan, for example, it could take a year before they even list it on the market, because this department might need this department, and they send letters to each other that get to each other a month later, and then they respond a month later. And it's like time,
It
right?
takes time.
It's a waste of time.
Exactly. So, we bought a few properties in the beginning because, again, Rafael was working a full-time job. Remember that. And I was working a full-time job. I wasn't in real estate yet. After he bought his first house, I kind of like flipped the light bulb, and we attended Rich Dad Poor Dad. You guys remember that?
He was doing conferences back then?
He was doing conferences.
Yeah. Very similar to what's the other one? That's very popular.
Fortune Builders.
Fortune Builder. Thank
Yes.
you.
And
Very similar.
Exactly. So we joined Rich Dad Poor Dad, which I don't remember actually how we got there, but we must have learned from somebody. And because we got addicted to this stuff. Like, it was like an addiction.
Yeah, we got the bug. We definitely got the
Once
bug.
we got bit, once he told me about the second house, you couldn't take me off of real estate. So I attended every single event. I was working full-time on Wall Street, and I was living in New York City, and I would travel Monday through Saturday from New York City to New Jersey to attend events, networking events, and learn from people and meet people and learn about this business that I knew nothing about.
This is probably like, I used to hear this on the radio in New York, like Secaucus probably there.
Oh, definitely. There's a lot of events in the caucus for sure. I downloaded an app, which is another thing. Bing. Every time I say this, you guys got to write notes. Meetup.com and Eventbrite,
Absolutely.
I think it is.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah,
And
those are
there
the two.
I typed in real estate events, and I got a shitload of real estate events.
Every morning at 5 in the morning,
That's
I
it.
get those meetup events.
And I just attended every single one that I could attend. Sometimes I would attend 2 or 3 at the same time. In the same day. And we just learned. One thing led to the other. I met another guy who taught me something, and then that guy introduced me to somebody else, and we got to Rich Dad Poor Dad. And we learned some things there. We got so captivated by it. It was the first time in Rich Dad Poor Dad that I heard somebody so eloquent. Like, I have never heard somebody so eloquent. Obama, for example, is an eloquent guy. He was very good at speaking. But I had never spoke or heard somebody say it in a business sense where it made so much sense. And it was that speaker. His name was Bryce. This guy, I got to look him up because he's amazing. And he used to work for Rich Dad Poor Dad. And he gave us this term, financial freedom. And I didn't understand it that well because obviously working on Wall Street, you don't have any you have financial, but you don't have freedom, And he was showing pictures of his wife and his kids, and yachts and traveling.
It was everywhere, yeah.
And it wasn't really about the money. It was really more about the concept of, wow, I could spend weekdays with my kids, Like, who does that in New York City, And
Money buys time.
Buying your
A lot
time
of-
back.
Absolutely.
For sure.
yeah, and in Rich Dad Poor Dad, I don't know if you attended some events. What they do is they have this sort of like tactic where they teach you, they give you some juice, they give you some stuff, and they teach you these things so you can get hooked. And they taught us how to do business.
Then comes in the big whale.
Exactly. Oh, that's it. They'll throw you some sardines, so that so they'll whale you in. And they taught us how to do like business credit, like very basic, and we immediately got like a $30,000 credit card, each of us.
Wow. I was going to ask you about that.
Yeah, so they taught us in the show, in the event, how to get a credit card. We got $30,000. Everybody got.
Did you have really good credit at
I
the
had
time?
great credit at
Yeah.
the time. I had a house. I had a lot of assets.
Did you have any high limit credit cards before then?
No,
Because this is
I
a
didn't-
huge thing on internet. Let me show you how I bought a house with a credit card.
No. We didn't. Credit wasn't even my thing. I used cash. I had investments. I had stocks. I didn't really care about credit. And in Wall Street, credit isn't really it's not like these guru sort of networks where they talk about credit too
Right.
much. In Wall Street, we talk about cash and stocks, right? So there, they gave us a credit card, but the reason why they taught us how to get the credit card was so that we could
pay
buy the
for
course.
this.
And the course was like $20,000, I think, at the time, And again, another right? Big concept, right? Who in the hell spends $20,000 now?
To hear somebody talk.
Look, these are concepts that now they've been normalized, right? I think social media has made it where everybody's selling a course.
Oh yeah.
But back then, it was like the only time I had ever spent $20,000 was when I bought a house. I had never paid $20,000 in one shot for anything. Not even when I went to get a car. Even if you're financing a car, you don't pay $20,000 for a finance of a car. Or when you buy clothes or food.
Do you guys remember the Learning Annex? It was big in New York.
Yeah.
So it's
absolutely.
basically the Learning Annex now is in social media with these courses. Have you heard? Was it a New York thing?
It must have been because they did the company I work for. They hired the Learning Annex.
So basically, if I remember, I was a kid. I remember my mom used to go. So if you wanted to learn English, you would go to a Learning Annex.
Yeah.
If you wanted to learn plumbing, you'd go to a Learning Annex.
Construction,
yeah. So it was like an after-school type of deal.
Yeah.
And so it's basically what they implemented then, and now they've just converted it to social media with people selling their courses.
Absolutely. You know, and they gave us that credit card. I mean, they taught us about that credit card. We knew immediately. So we bought the course. Well, at least I bought the course. I don't think you wanted to buy into it, right?
At that moment, I didn't. I didn't want to go into it. I wanted to take that 20 grand, put it into another house, but
It's kind of
He was the smart one. He was the smart one.
Rafi's always been about, you know what, dude, why do we got to pay this guy to teach us? Why don't we just buy another house with
I'm
that
gonna
money?
I'm gonna learn on our own, right?
Yeah.
It's kind of like the first time people go to a strip club. Like you never go before. He's like, I'm not going to a damn strip club. And then the doors open. Like, oh my god, where have you been all my life? Same thing, right? These guys implemented so much.
I don't know what he's talking about, by the way.
No, my wife might be listening in.
No, but that's what these guys, not to say it's negative, but they'll show you all these new ways of thinking and strategies. Like, why this makes so much sense.
Think outside the box for sure.
Absolutely, exactly.
Yeah.
Dude, and none of I took my cousin also. If you see this, Robinson, it's my cousin. He's also my son's godfather. He's like my brother. I love this guy to death. Very smart guy, but he did not want to join the course. And it was me, him, and somebody else. And nobody wanted to join the course. I was the only one that was sold on the course. That I was
out of the whole group.
The whole group. Everybody said no. We're not paying $20,000.
So you had a vision that they didn't see.
Well, I think my mind was somewhere else because I had already been in Wall Street and I understood wealth, right? So I was already around people that were very wealthy, ultra wealthy individuals, and I saw like the future of saving money, investing your money, and putting it into assets and growing your. So real estate was a very easy transition for me because I understood the concept immediately once somebody taught it to me. It was just never in my head, so I couldn't really comprehend it. So I was never thinking about it. But when we went to that course, I was the first one. I was like, oh, we gotta get into this. We gotta pay for these $20,000. I know it's a lot, but listen, I'll pay the $20,000. I'll lend it to you guys right now. But they didn't want to do it, and I couldn't twist their arm. I couldn't bend their.
So are these friends of yours that went with you?
Yeah, Rafi and
you
my
didn't
cousin.
sign up?
No, he didn't. They didn't like
And
it.
is this prior to you owning real estate?
I signed up, but then the next day I canceled it. So it was like,
But were you in real estate already?
yes,
Yeah, he had the two
gotcha.
houses.
Okay.
Yeah, at that point,
So he's like, I'm a doer. Why am I going to buy this?
Exactly.
that was the thing.
And look, we're both
he-
doers.
He was waiting for you to split it with him.
They always have, well, this is my wife, does she have to pay extra? Oh, no, she's part of it.
Yeah.
Knowing Ralphie,
Maybe
you don't
maybe
know
that
how
was
true
it.
that is.
That might be it. That might have
Dude,
been it.
that's how I do it. That's why I have business partners, right? I'm like, yo, John, Mark, let's split this thing.
That's it.
Like, why are we gonna buy the same course 3 times? What's the purpose of that?
Right.
Ralphie's more of, why don't you do it? And after you do it, I'll just
Teach me
I'll just
everything.
borrow the
Teach
course.
me.
I'll just borrow the course. I was like, oh wait, so I gotta spend the $20,000?
Yeah, you're the Wall Street guy.
That's $20,000 you could put down on a house.
But good thing you
especially
didn't
back in
sign up.
2010.
Good thing I didn't sign up actually
Oh, you
because
didn't sign up either?
No, I did
No, he
sign
did.
up.
He was the
Oh, you
only
did?
one.
I
Okay,
did sign
right.
up, but because nobody else wanted to sign up and everybody was trying to talk me out of it,
Yeah.
I ended up going to another event. I was still signed up, but I went to another event. I met somebody else, and that person told me, "Oh, don't sign up for Rich Dad Poor Dad. I know a better company that's gonna teach you a lot more, and I'm already a member of this." And it was Fortune Builders. So the next day, I called and I said, "Hey, I want to cancel my membership in Rich Dad Poor Dad," and they refunded my money, and I used that money to join Fortune Builders, which was more expensive actually.
Yeah.
Did you sit down and hear them out? Like you went to the course first, or you just went off the strength of your friend saying this is what you need to do?
Listen, I was already so motivated. I when somebody's motivated,
You
to
were
do
wound it
something,
up. You were just put me in the right direction.
Listen, coach, put me in. I'm ready. I'm
Pass me the
already
ball.
making the shots in my head. I just need the ball. You know what I'm saying?
Pass me the ball.
So the money was not an issue for me. I knew that I was going to spend that money to learn real estate. And my thing also was that I have a college degree. I went to college, I've been to the Marines, right? And I learned in Wall Street, but I didn't have the time to spend to learn real estate. So I wanted to learn, I wanted to download like all that information, kind of like Neo in the Matrix, where they just like download all,
zap it in,
and then he starts fighting karate and all this,
That's what Zuckerberg is working on right now.
So I envisioned that. I was like, damn, can not somebody just like download like the real estate world into my brain and I just learn it like right away? Who could I pay for that? And I saw Fortune Builders as a way to do that, and I said, let me try this out, man, and the rest is really history, because I think Fortune Builders was really what gave us the base. But it's you asked me before we started the podcast a few questions that we should probably go over, but Fortune Builders has a method and it's a strategy, and that strategy, ding, maybe people should take notes, is you should learn the 3 basic strategies of real estate, and those are wholesaling, flipping, and buy and hold. And they teach you,
what year is this?
Like 2015, maybe.
Okay, that's not too long ago. Okay.
Almost a decade.
Because wholesaling is taking off, right?
Almost
that's a whole other
decade.
conversation.
Wholesaling has taken off now, but it wasn't in 10 years ago. Wholesaling was definitely people were not like wholesaling like they were now.
That's true.
And the systems and the automation didn't exist.
None of it.
No.
It was just basically you knocking on doors. You see a high grass, you go knock on the door.
Exactly. So there wasn't the systems that you have now.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Well, no, that's when I was getting around to it as well. Around 2015, I was starting to attend events and stuff. I went to the Fortune Builder thing, and I found out it was like $45,000. I was like, holy crap. I was like, Ralphie, I was like,
Leave this money.
I'm holding on to my money that I don't even have yet, and I'm going to buy something.
And I was stupid enough, which I shouldn't say I'm stupid enough, because I learned a lot from Fortune Builders. I appreciate Fortune Builders definitely did a lot for me, and I learned a lot. And so I signed up for more after the $45,000 version. We ended up getting into Inner Circle. It's like $60-something thousand.
But you're buying, you're wholesaling.
I'm buying,
at this time.
doing. Well, at this time I wasn't wholesaling. At this time I wasn't doing any multifamilies or commercial.
Because you mentioned like 14 properties before that you already had gotten into.
All of that stuff that we did, it was progression, right? My.
Were you sharing the information with your buddy over here? Is that how it was working?
Yeah, I was sharing it for sure. Maybe not as much as because.
Did you go like to Elizabeth and Noches Colombia and split up all the information?
Were you living in the house at that time?
Yeah,
you were. Oh, my memory's horrible. But
mortgage.
But keep in mind,
he's trying to trip you up. That was mortgage for his child.
But keep in mind that he still worked a full-time job while he was buying real estate. Yeah. Me, I didn't do it like that, and I wish I did do it like him, but I went like full force. Like I told you, I was already motivated. I knew that, I had money already that I had been making in Wall Street, and I saved that money in my investments, and I said, wait a minute, what am I going to do with this money? I know, the stock market is now kind of going, it went down to 2008, right? So, I had this vision like, I'm joining Fortune Builders now. I'm meeting all these people who are doing really well in real estate. I'm quitting my job. And I quit my job, which was now, in hindsight, for any newbies or people who are trying to get into real estate, and this is the first time that you guys are tasting real estate, if I had to think back of what, my experience was, I probably would have kept that job, because I was making really good money, more money than people. Matter of fact, you can look this up. The statistics of people who make over 6 figures, I think it's only like 10% of the America that makes more than $100,000. 10% of the population. Now, I think if you go up to 200,000, it's like 5%. So I was in that category, of the 5%. And, at this point, I'm saying to myself, wait a minute. I think I'm smart. I manage, about 60 people. I think I can, run a company. Screw Wall Street. Let me go full force on this. And I quit my job, which I
cold turkey.
You know, my director at the time, who was my boss, who I respect a lot, and he was kind of like a mentor to me in Wall Street, looked at me and said, "What the hell is wrong with you? Like, are you having a midlife crisis? What's going on over here? Like, you having personal issues?" And he just couldn't understand how I threw away a career that I built over 17 years to going into something I knew nothing about.
I did the same thing when I got into real estate. I was a manager at T-Mobile, and I said, I'm quitting. I was learning about, I was following Max Maxwell on YouTube. I'm like, I can do this. And I go to quit, and they're like, oh, we're closing the store anyway.
Oh,
Thanks for that.
Thanks for letting us know.
I wish that was my story. My story, they didn't close the bank. The bank was doing very well. I wish that was the case, and I was forced to leave. But no, I burned the ships. So I said, no, I'm not looking back. And and then life got really hard after that. Life got really hard. It was like I was pampered in Wall Street. I lived a very, very luxurious, sort of easy.
It's like a 9-to-5 job.
Oh my God, man! I used to eat at Roof Chris every single day lunch. You know, we're talking about $300 lunches every single day. To now, I'm a real estate investor. I gotta eat pizza because this construction budget is like crazy, and I don't have an unlimited amount of money.
You gotta budget.
So Fortune Builders. Going back to Fortune Builders, Fortune Builders teaches you to wholesale 3 properties, flip 3 properties, and then buy a hold. So every 3 properties you do fast, sort of active income, you buy a passive income vehicle. And that's a strategy. So
isn't that the same thing this guy Pena was saying on YouTube as well?
That's kind of what I follow.
who's that, Pena?
Never mind. Everybody missed the joke. I didn't want to say the first name.
I know who you're talking about.
You got it right.
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
I got it.
Got it. Yeah.
Well, it was way before that guy. But these guys, Fortune Builders is a legitimate company for sure. It's, Than Merrill was our mentor. He's an amazing guy.
Oh, wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah, Than Merrill was our mentor. He had to flip this house on A&E. And he was like this larger-than-life guy that, he was a football player. He played for the Patriots. And he was worth like $300 million. And he was a very genuine guy, so it was very easy to receive the message of learning from him, right? So I think you need that, right? You need a mastermind or some type of person that you can learn from, that you gravitate to and you can also understand, and because you have to like the person you're learning from,
Definitely.
And then, they taught us that idea, and coming from Wall Street, I always wanted. So one of the things that got me was the word financial freedom. And with financial freedom, you have to understand that passive income is really what's tied more to financial freedom.
Yeah, but I want to work a 9-to-5 job. I'm comfortable making $250,000 a year.
That's true, And that check every 2 weeks is very, very, very good. It's a drug.
Financial freedom, man. I got a pension. I'll be okay.
But it's also nice to.
I'm being that guy right now.
No,
saying
of course,
versus real estate, right?
No, for sure. So I, like when I envisioned real estate and I was starting in this business, I envisioned owning buildings and multifamilies and rental income. I didn't envision myself in construction, Carhartts, managing properties, going to Joey, telling him to measure my kitchens and getting me some cabinets, and then dealing with plumbers with their butt cracks out, and arguing with contractors.
Giving you all sorts of quotes and
You went from suits, 3-piece suits, to construction dust
that
all over
was
the place.
a very big change for me. So
you were going like to your first like deals with like Ferragamos on and messing them all up.
For sure, that's for sure. I definitely messed up a pair of Ferragamos on the job site for sure. So I'm coming from this clean cut Wall Street suits to now dealing with contractors who don't even understand how to speak the English language. Like these guys are like cursing every second, which I curse all the time because I'm a Marine. But it's a different dynamic, right? These guys aren't really professional, and you have arguments over anything. Why did you get here at 9 when you told me you were going to be here at 8? And they start arguing, and it's like all crazy, and they lose their temper, and you gotta control that. So it's like managing kids. You're a contractor, you understand this, right? So
Too well.
So the flipping business kicked my behind. I just didn't understand it. I couldn't fathom how to get around the whole and I see these videos on YouTube and social media, and I say to myself, how the hell do these people learn how to flip so fast? Why is it easier to flip now? Because when I started, it was like the hardest thing for me to do. I couldn't understand it because I didn't come from a construction background. And I didn't understand how to manage contractors. And then they were just getting me and jerking me for like $5,000 deposits, and they were
Not showing up.
And I just didn't understand how to manage that. But Fortune Builders taught me how to manage it. And then I learned.
Oh, it's amazing.
And then you learn how to do it, and you learn, you get better, and then you start buying some. We started buying multifamilies. So that was our thing. We started, flipping multifamilies, and we built a little sort of rental portfolio, nothing crazy, but enough where we were getting, some passive income, and we kind of fell in love with it, and we liked residential. But it's like with anything else, there's a theme here that, hopefully you guys can learn from. And I think some of my mentors now have taught us, and, it's something that I also kind of like learned in Wall Street. Passive income is really king. Passive income is really what you want to chase. And a lot of people don't understand that concept, and it's unfortunate because there's a lot of people that are listening to this podcast that they might not even understand that what I'm about to say, what I'm saying. Because, it's very easy to get caught up with, I'm going to buy this $300,000 house. I'm going to put $100,000 into it, and I'm going to sell it for $600,000, and I'm going to make $200,000 on it. Versus buying this multifamily that I might make $2,000 to $3,000, $5,000 a month on. So that concept, a lot of people don't understand it. They think that, I'm going for the $200,000.
The short money.
But you know how many times I've made that mistake? Mistake, I've made it so many times.
It's like day trading and
fast money,
and investing long term.
It was like, and I hope that whoever's listening to this can learn from my mistakes, from our mistakes, because I came into this business wanting to be a landlord, but I got caught up in the flipping game for too long. I don't flip anymore. I had stopped flipping a little while ago, and I think my last flip I did like 2 years ago, almost a year and a half ago. But we were already passive income investors and doing other things. But the flipping business is a very difficult and tough business. And if I had to give anybody advice, if I'm giving advice to my son, and this is advice that's coming from somebody who did it, because we're doers. This is not like a guru who just teaches, right? Yeah. We're not gurus. We don't teach. We don't have a platform for classes and courses. We do. We manage an active business, and I'm out there in the trenches, and I flipped enough properties to understand this. At some point I was managing 5 flips at a time, and it was driving me insane. And if I had to give this advice to my son, and I have given this advice to a lot of people who I've mentored, to stay away from flipping. Flipping is not the way to really get into this business. If you come from a background of you have a stable job and you want to get into real estate to build a passive income portfolio and financial freedom, stay away from flipping, because flipping is kind of like a drug.
It's the fast cash.
By the time and look, I'm not a drug addict. I've never done any drugs like that, so I can't really put myself in that position. But I understand the concept. If you're an addict and you take one hit, you don't know that you're going to be an addict. Then you take another hit, and before you know it, before too long, you're like taking hits every day, and you don't even know how deep you're in it. And that's how flipping is. You flip the first house, you make $200,000, $100,000. Then you use that $100,000 to go buy another house, and you're trying to make another $100,000. Then you buy 2 houses, you try to make $200,000. But that money, where's that money? That money is not like it's in your bank account. It's not like you just made passive income. Mm-hmm. You got to constantly flip that money.
You got to work it.
And you're continuously working and working and working. And in my case, I wasn't wearing suits. I was wearing construction over or whatever, right? So after a time, and it takes time to do flips. And, yes, there's people that build systems, and we eventually built systems, and we learned better. And that's how I was able to manage 5 flips at a time. But it was the worst mistake I ever made, because I made money in it, but it just took me too much time to figure it out. And it took me years of my life that I think I could have fast-tracked my career if I would have started focusing on passive income only. And passive income is the slow route to make money. But anytime you have a quick way and a slow way, if you ask me, Anybody who knows Edwin from Helios, I'm going to go the slow way. The tortoise in the hare, Bugs Bunny cartoons, I think about that, you know, and I say to myself, they were teaching us all these rules since we were kids. I'm never going to go the rabbit way. I'm never going to go that way. And the person I am today and what I've learned today, I like long-term investments. I like stable investments. I like taking less risk. I like, you know, putting less effort. So if I had to go some way, and this is a segue into what we're doing now, because we got out of the residential business. And we do have a residential business now. At some point, we were doing flips and buying properties, and we said to ourselves...
And you're primarily in Jersey at this time, or different
primarily
states?
In Jersey.
At this point, you're still
Yes,
in Jersey.
Yes, but commercial real estate,
Jersey was like for anyone who just like crabs in a barrel at this time, right? 2014, 15. Like you couldn't lose. Like there was just properties as far as the eye can see, right?
We didn't know that.
I'm asking. I didn't know.
Up to
I was going to Great Adventures and going right back to New York. I didn't know anything about New Jersey.
I think up to 2022, pretty much pre-2022, you could basically buy anything. You know, yeah, in Jersey.
You know, when we were buying houses, when we first started, there was no way to tell how fast this market was going to appreciate. We didn't know. I bought a 4-family, like I told you guys, I bought a 4-family REO for $300,000 in Roselle. And I sold that for $700,000. And I had no idea. The only reason I sold that, and the other day I was kicking myself in behind because I told my wife, I told her, "Damn, I should have never sold that house."
That's why I was whistling.
I should have never sold that house. That house is worth like $900,000.
It's probably the only 4-family in Roselle.
There's not that many, but you know, not only that, 4 families are very hard to come by. You can't find a 4-family like that.
It's
you know?
super rare.
Yeah.
But to find them for $300,000, you know.
Wow.
Yeah, good luck right now.
And I bought that, and I was like, damn, you know, it's interesting because you look, hindsight is 20/20,
Exactly.
right? Everybody's a genius if you look back, right? But if I would have known what I know now, I would have bought 20 of those things, you know. But nobody could tell me at that time that was like the home run, you know.
Yeah.
That was just an okay, you know, deal. I was seeing my friends buying better deals. And, you know, when you start comparing yourself against other people and you start seeing them drive a Lambo and you're driving a BMW, yeah, BMW's okay, but that Lambo looks better, right? So I think, you know, that's also another concept that I learned over time, that now I don't compare myself to what other people are doing, and we stay in our lane. We stay into what we're doing because we know that there's too many paths and too many journeys in this world, and your journey might be different than mine. And, you know, I just need to focus on what's important for me. And we've sort of narrowed it down a little bit more. We're more niche.
So what are you guys doing exactly right now? So you mastered multifamily and you pivoted to something different, right?
So we got up to a few rentals. We created our own property management company, Helios Management, right? We had supers, people that we hired that used to maintain our properties. We owned some boarding homes, rooming houses, and being a veteran, which actually Johnathan, who's your partner as well, reached out to me just 2 days ago. A few days ago, he wanted me to help him with some veteran housing.
Yep, that's right.
So we did veteran housing, right? We put a lot of veterans and seniors into our homes. So we had dozens and dozens of rentals. And we were collecting passive income and had our own management company. And then it just dawned on us. And by the way, it wasn't like I was doing that's less work than flipping. Flipping was a lot of work.
Right.
You know, because flipping, I was actually in the job site. I had to show up every day. With our rentals, we had a team that they were the ones that dealt with the toilet leaking. Yep. You know, or you got to go pick up the trash. You know, like there was a team that was doing that. We didn't have to do that. But at some point, I don't know what it was. Maybe you remember, but for sure, something happened where deals were not showing up. I don't know what time period this was, but you probably remember this as well. There was a time period where deals were coming out of nowhere, like 2016, 2015, 17. There were deals everywhere. But then I think around 18 or 19, I don't know, remember around that time, it started becoming more difficult to get deals. Because now I feel like there were more investors.
Yeah, more competition.
Well, that's when the wholesaling just started taking off.
Yes. And that's when we started getting into wholesaling because we figured, wait a minute, I just did 5 flips. Where's my next one going to come from? And I started, all my relationships, because I had a Rolodex of like, people don't know that word, Rolodex. So
I'm sure people do.
So I had a contact book of like wholesalers, and I wasn't a wholesaler. I didn't know how the wholesaling. I understood the concepts, but they were like the people that fed me. They fed me deals, and I was contacting my wholesalers, and I just couldn't get a deal. And we both had cash, and it was like, damn, what are we gonna do with this cash? What are we gonna do with this money? We don't have any deals, so we decided to become wholesalers. Not because we wanted to wholesale, but because we wanted to source deals for us. So we wanted to.
No one else was feeding you. Go feed yourself.
Exactly. So we wanted to create. So we already had a flipping business, which was a development company. We already had a investment company, which was the passive income company, and we already had a property management company that basically managed our rentals. And and I managed all the flips. And with the help of, I had a project manager at the time as well. So we kind of had different vehicles or verticals, and we said to myself, but how do we feed those verticals without having to come to you or come to you for a deal? How do we do that where it's in-house into Helios? And that created this method of everything we do. And the first concept and the first thing we go to in Helios is that we want to bring everything in-house. We want to control it. We want to control the process. And we want to be the people that bring in the fish and not go to you for a fish. So we started saying, we have to look to our network and learn wholesaling strategies. Not because, again, we don't want to wholesale, but because we want to feed ourselves deals. Mm-hmm. So I want to learn how to reach out to people and negotiate that. And I was the worst negotiator in the world, by the way.
Yelling and cursing at people.
It's funny. I remember that time because I think we came in to your office. And I don't remember if we went out for lunch or we just sat down for a meeting. So it was me meeting Rafi, and you and Johnathan came.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't remember that.
And we've known each other obviously for some time. Joey, Johnathan for some time because we travel the same circles. I think everybody in real estate kind of like this is a small community. We all kind of know each other. Small, yeah. And I get people all the time that ask me. Things, and they ask me questions, and I say, "Oh yeah, just contact my friend, Joey. He'll also be careful, right?
Recommending people, yeah. Be careful.
Well, that you
might end up on Channel 4 News.
Exactly. We've built good relationships. We've built really good relationships, and we haven't. And I think that good people gravitate to good people. Me being a Marine, one of the principles of a lot of our principles from our company and our values have to do with Marine Corps values, and I have a tough demeanor. Like I don't play games, I'm a very no nonsense type of person. And I'm not really up for the small talk, but I'm about business. I like to get down and action. I don't like to talk too much about what we're going to do. But also with that, I believe in doing what's right. If somebody came up to me and told me, that there was a shortcut to do something, I probably wouldn't go for that shortcut, And number one, because every time I've taken a shortcut, it's never been good. It's never been a good outcome. And I've always thought about my relationships, and this comes from Wall Street and also my upbringing and also the Marines. Because in the Marines, we have this thing that teaches you kind of like, you can't really abandon your brothers, And if you're fighting a fight, you kind of have to make sure that you protect your brothers and protect each other. And even if they're down, you got to go get them. No man left behind, right? So there's this honor thing. And I brought that honor is embedded in my brain and in my core to my business. So, and I say this because there's been many projects, not many, but like a handful of projects where I've borrowed money from lenders and they've made more money than I have. And
that's what they're in the business of doing.
That's happened to me.
And it doesn't feel good that you flip this property and you're expecting to make $100,000, and by the end you lasted longer than when you're supposed to. The contractor budget was higher than it was supposed to, and you ended up making $30,000, $40,000, and your lender made a lot more money than you, or your partner made a lot more money than you, and they were passive.
Don't hate the player, hate the game.
Exactly, and I don't, But it brought me onto these concepts of active income and passive income. you know, and
Absolutely.
going back to, you know, what you guys were saying, the whole how we got into the we had the rentals, and there was a sort of like idea sort of shift there was like these seeds in our head that were kind of like traveling around and in our brain, and we just didn't know how to formulate them, and we didn't know where we were going to be now, where we are now 3-4 years ago, right? But we were brainstorming these things, and we were bouncing things off each other, and we were like, how are we going to do this, and what do you think about this, and what if we did this? And one thing led to another, and we ended up investing a lot of money. I took, like, you know, definitely 6 figures for sure, chunk of money, and we invested it into this sort of new vertical. And we paid a mastermind, we paid a mentor like $50,000, and another mentor like another $30,000, and another mentor like another $50,000. And then to set up the business, and hundreds of thousands of dollars later, we created a wholesaling business, an acquisitions business. So I don't consider ourselves a wholesalers, because that's not what we are. But we learned how to find fish, and we did that very well. So eventually we just, after a while, I don't know, at some point there was something that was happening in our head that was kind of like telling us, I don't know about this residential stuff anymore. And I don't know what it was, but we were like having this philosophical sort of like breaking point in our head that was kind of like tugging away at our minds, and it was telling us like, get away from residential. And I don't know what it was. Do you remember what it was?
It was something to do with maybe, I didn't want to say we figured it all out, but we figured most of it out. And I think that was the point. They were like, oh, you know, it has to be an easier way. There has to be another way.
So we always look for, you know, again, it always goes back to the Marines for me. The Marines have an acronym that says KISS, K-I-S-S, keep it simple, stupid. And every time I overcomplicate things, I always play this in my head, and I say, you're overcomplicating things, Edwin. You know, you got to simplify it. And if I have 10 steps to get to from here to here, I need to take those 10 steps and make them 3 steps. How do I do that? And we were doing all that, and we came better. We built more processes. We built more automation. At some point, so it goes back. We had rooming houses and boarding homes, right? So yep. There was a concept of, let's sell those and let's buy more multifamilies and condense our portfolio so we don't have so many properties spread out everywhere, so that we can only have big buildings. And instead of having, 40 apartments split over 10 properties, let's get 2 buildings that have 40 apartments. You know, like those concepts were coming into our head. Mm-hmm. And then we were liking that, but then there was a strategic shift in our brain where it was bothering us philosophically, like, this isn't it. Like, residential, this has to, like, how do we, because we were already making good money. We made good money in this business. And we just didn't understand how do you take a flip where you make 100,000, 150, but instead of doing that, where I can make $1 million, you know? And I didn't understand how to do it. Then I started meeting people who were flipping, you know, bigger properties, luxury homes, or they sold, you know, a commercial property, or they sold, you know. So then those things started playing in my head. And I've met so many mentors in my life, and people who are so much smarter than me, and I think I gravitate to people like that, because like there's always something, like I really, really love understanding how people's brains work. And when I speak to older people especially, and we've been speaking to a lot of older people recently, like
down in Florida,
I mean, no, a lot in New Jersey, you know, and now one in Ohio. He actually passed away, but a lot of the people we've been like in our circle are a lot older than us, double our age, you know, and sometimes not double our age, but 20, 30 years older than us.
Age comes wisdom.
And these are people that have gone through every single, every pothole that we have stepped over and tripped and hurt. They've been there. And I met this 95-year-old man, very wealthy guy. He used to be a mathematician, became an investor, owned a few properties. We went to his house. Sharp, very sharp guy. And the first question I asked him, how old are you? Like one of the, like I didn't ask it in a disrespectful manner. I asked it, because he looked good, and
You were curious.
And he said 95, and I asked him, wow, 95, you lived a long life. And you know what his answer to me was? I mean, this like, to this day, I still think about this. Like, this has never left my mind, that concept of what he told me. He said, it wasn't enough. 95 years old wasn't enough. So
he still has more life.
Don't worry, Jeff Bezos is working on that right now.
So this guy, it kind of like screwed up my head a little bit. Kind of, it messed me up. Like, damn. So you're telling me that when I'm 95, I'm gonna think that my life wasn't long enough? I want to live more, and you really can't say how much you want to live. Like, you could want to live to
yeah,
it's not up to you, right? This guy could probably want to live till he's 150, and he might drop dead tomorrow because he's 95. It's like, it's a crapshoot with him right now, So it's. But look, we've been speaking to a lot of older people, and they've given us a lot of advice. We've been lucky to be around a lot of more intelligent people than us, and that's one of my tips and advice that I give people. Always stay around people who are smarter than you. And I like to feel stupid.
That was my question for you. How important is it for mentorship?
Anybody who knows me, anybody who's listening to this podcast knows that, I think 90% of my success, of who I am today, has been because of mentors. I spent hundreds of thousands of dollars into mentorships. And I already gone over it, right? The first introduction into real estate was a mentorship, Rich Dad Poor Dad, and I signed up immediately. The next one, although I didn't end up going through with that one, I ended up signing up for Fortune Builders. And that set up a avalanche, or sort of like a snowball downhill of more mentorships and more mentorships. And I was like a junkie of mentorships. I've been to more masterminds probably than I can get. I don't even know that many people who have been as many. I have, those badges, right? Those badges. I have hundreds of them in my house, and I've seen people post like pictures of like boards and walls of like all the badges, and it looks cool. I can't even fit it in one picture. That's how many badges I got.
I have one of those boards.
You're one of those guys.
Yeah, I mean, mentor is so important. You learn so much, and that's how when people talk to me, they're like, "How do you know so much?" Well, first of all, number one, experience. Number two, paying for it. Right? Mentors, you're paying for their experience. So,
yeah, and there's this trend, which I'm not too fond of, where the world is kind of shifting away from like education, and they're saying, "Oh, university, nobody wants to do that anymore."
I was just having this conversation on my way here.
What's that?
With a friend of mine. Exactly what you're going to say right now.
So it's like, people are why should I pay for a college education when I can just go, work or make money in real estate or become a social media influencer? This is the trend that's happening now. But I think that trend, and whoever's preaching that, is losing the sight of the fact that education still is important. So I got my college degree, and even my college degree was very important to me. And I still recommend people to go to college. But my entire education throughout life, I was always learning. We're all still learning. We're all still newbies. I'm still a newbie, because what we're shifting into now and what we've been shifting into is new to us. Although I know flipping very well, and I know wholesaling very well, and I know small commercial or multifamilies very well, there's still so much more to learn in real estate, right?
100%.
So mentorships were important because they gave you the opportunity, or they give you the opportunity. And again, look, there's gurus out there. And you mentioned some of the name right there,
It's a lot.
We don't want to blast anybody here, but there's gurus definitely that do it for the wrong intentions.
Absolutely.
And they want to get 20,000 from you. And I've heard stories of gurus who get your money and then never teach you anything.
Walk away.
And that's a bad, experience for people. But I think there are solid mentors, real solid people, real good people. So you should always chase education, just the right education, right? You got to be selective about it. And that's what we are now. I told you guys I was a mentorship junkie, and I joined every mentorship in the world, you know. But now I'm more selective about it. Now I understand more about it. Now you know which ones. I could tell right away within the first 5 seconds of looking at a mastermind if it's a quality one or not, just because I understand the topics more and I'm a little bit more experienced. But before I used to join, I spent thousands of dollars in mentorships I never really got value from. And, you know, I maybe got one nugget, but not enough nuggets. That if I would have been more selective, I probably would have had, you know, more knowledge.
I think that's if the audience doesn't understand, that's what Joey and I and everyone else that's on the podcast what we're trying to relay here is this is a mentorship program.
Yeah.
For free. You know, we may not be able, we don't have the time to get, you know, the information you may get from a course where you're sitting 3-4 hours of going with numbers and calculations and square footage, how to collect. We don't have the time to do that, but this is part of it. This is how you get started.
Yeah, yeah. You know, and I thank a lot of people, man. You know, there's probably people that are going to see this, and I want to shout out a lot of people that, you know, were instrumental to my growth, to our growth. Shomel, I don't know if you guys know him. Yeah. Very well-known guy, very respected guy. His brother Farhan. These are guys that I think they're doing tremendous work in teaching the real estate community in this state. You got Glenn Gallucci, Than Merrill, who I spoke about. John Steingraber. That's
Joey Chan.
Joey Chan, you know, Johnathan Boyle. You know, these are people who are actually doing very good things for the community, you know, and very good things for people like us. Because we came into this world and we were kind of like blinded, like trying to find our way. And these people grabbed us by the hand and showed us like, hey, this is how you do a flip. And these are the potholes that you're going to run into and trip.
The right way, yeah.
And this is how you do this. And this is how you formulate a payment schedule and a contractor agreement. And those people, you know, I always valued those people, but I value them more. You know, I struck a friendship with Shomel and Farhan now that we're like really good friends. I respect those guys a lot. I just spoke at their event recently.
Yep. I was there.
You were there, yeah. And we still have mentors today, man. We pay them. We just paid a mentor $50,000. You know, we pay to this day, like this is real time, 2023 October. We just paid a mentor. You know, so
the event. What real quick because we're running out of time. What event you guys were talking at?
Shomel did it was a real estate. He has a real estate. The Ari Brothers real estate investment group.
Okay.
So it's like they're like the.
Could anyone come in or?
Yeah, anybody.
You have to be invited or.
You have to be invited, but you know, I think they have a sign up in there. You guys can look them up, Shomel and Farhan.
How much was it to get into the course? Into the group, or
I don't know what the prices are for the group. You know, because I was a guest speaker.
Yeah, we'll leave if anybody interested, we'll leave a link.
I'm going to make a point. That's what I was asking.
Okay.
Do you know, Joey?
Cheap.
How much was it? Yeah,
it was cheap.
I don't know.
What are they usually?
I think it's like $100.
$100. So you can go around for $100. You can sit around the guys that have been in the industry maybe 20 years.
Yeah.
For $100.
Yeah.
How long was the course itself?
They have like a whole course online and they have a WhatsApp group that's very active and people
So
interact.
he's giving you the keys of where you can get started in real estate.
Yeah. So I
that
mean,
was the point. That's
cheap
went to my
too.
questions.
Cheap.
I wasn't trying to promote them or anything.
No. Well, look, these are good guys. So I vouch for these guys.
So you have someone here that's verifying.
Yeah, because
I'm in the group too.
Okay,
I'm in the group too.
You have 3 people here telling you where you can get started.
You know, like look, I'm not a coach. I don't have time for it, right? But certainly, you know, now the relationship I built with Shomel and Farhan, we share information, we teach each other, we help each other. Matter of fact, you know, after I was actually part of a mastermind that Shomel had that he created with Glenn Gallucci back then. It was a more expensive one, you know, and that one is a more personal one-on-one coaching that he did. And I was mentored by him on a one-on-one. And after that, I learned the business. I became better at it. I ran into him in Florida, in Orlando, at a property management course that I was taking. Mr. Landlord, I'm name dropping here, so you guys can look these people up. Mr. Landlord was a guy. He still teaches. He taught us how to manage our rental properties, and that was very important to us because I didn't know how to manage it. But I ran into Shomel there in Orlando out of nowhere. I'm like, oh wow, this is my mentor, and we're now sitting next to each other, and we're learning the same thing, essentially. So what that taught me was that even the people that I look up to, even the people that I thought, or that I think, that obviously are like my heroes, the people that I look up to, they're still students.
Still learning.
And I'm still a student. And I'm always going to be a student, probably till the day that I die. But I recommend that to people. I think that people should seek mentors and learn actively in this business because you never really stop learning, And now since we've graduated into commercial real estate and we don't know everything, we don't know enough about commercial real estate, we have a mentor for that,
Absolutely. So, guys, our times is up, unfortunately. How can people get in touch with you?
Yeah, so you can look me up. We have Instagram, Helios REI like real estate investments. So Instagram at Helios REI. That's our commercial real estate company. We focus specifically, we didn't speak about that on this show, but we focus specifically on retail shopping centers and industrial properties. That's what our future is moving into now. And we've since sold most of our residential and now transitioning into buying that. You can also catch us on Twitter, same thing, Helios REI. Catch us we have a YouTube channel. We have online, or Helios Buys NJ. What else? Did I miss anything? Facebook. We have a Helios REI and we have a Helios Buys NJ in Facebook as well.
The website.
The website, Helios Buys NJ.
What's the
and
TikTok?
Helios
What's the
REI.
Snapchat?
TikTok, we got a Helios REI. We got it. So one thing that you'll notice about us is our brand. We're very good on our brand. We always keep the names the same.
Always Brandon.
Helios.
Always
Brand.
Be Brandon. Be
Yeah.
Brandon.
So if you look up
Not
Helios
go Brandon,
REI,
be Brandon.
absolutely. You can look it up on any social media. Helios REI, you'll find it. You'll get
Awesome.
to us.
Awesome, guys. And Joe?
Joe Falla. Joe does mortgages. If you have any questions about buying your first property, first-time home buyers, they have questions about down payment assistance. If you want to buy an investment property, I can help you with any array of anything within that array of real estate. I can be reached at 908-669-9091 and on all social media, Joe does mortgages.
Cool.
Anything to add, Ralph?
No, you can find me at Instagram, investing with Rafael. Edwin already gave us the website, so see you then.
Awesome.
Yeah. And how about you, Joey?
Yeah, and we're at the Kitchen Design Lab here. We sell kitchen cabinets, countertops, and installations as well. So please reach out to us. We, fix and flip. We do buy and holds as well. So thanks a lot, guys. We'll see you again next week this time.
Before you go, Wade, I
Sure.
just want to plug in one more thing.
Absolutely.
If you guys, we sell residential real estate to a lot of investors in New Jersey. So we sell off-market deals through our acquisitions business. We buy retail and industrial. So anybody who has a deal that's retail or industrial, reach out to me. We're buyers. Anybody who wants to buy flips or small multifamilies and residential properties, reach out to us. We're selling. So we do have a lot of deals, and we also sell land to developers. So we're buyers and sellers.
Okay.
Just keep that in
Awesome.
mind.
And
Awesome,
we
man.
got to get these guys back more for a
think, yeah.
commercial episode.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure. Because we didn't even touch commercial.
I know.
And that's what we're doing now.
Yeah.
So,
So let's do that.
Awesome, man.
All right, guys. Thank you so
See
much.
you next week. Thank
See ya.
you.